So with all the Haunta mania going on, I haven't heard anyone talk about the fact that the Chinese rolled out a Haunta vax 1 month before Haunta mania began. And by the end of this video, I'm going to show you that 2026 is the year of the fire horse, and it's going to be a very big fire horse year, and that this may all just be one great big festering neon distraction. I have a suggestion. It's to keep you all occupied while the world burns from the inside out like it is right now in the Florida Everglades.
As the Haunta virus spreads rapidly and draws global attention, what's even more unsettling is that a month ago, the Chinese Communist Party announced with great fanfare the successful development of a Haunta virus nucleic acid vaccine. On March 30th, China's virology community official WeChat account published an article stating that a team led by the microbiology departments Zhang Fangling and Ye Wei developed a hantavirus nucleic acid vaccine based on prefusion conformation stabilization. The research was designed through structural vaccinology principles and verified the prefusion conformation stabilized hantavirus glycoprotein immunogen. Combined with DNA and mRNA LNP nucleic acid vaccine platforms, it provides strong lasting immunity against hantavirus, while offering the best heterologous booster option for individuals previously vaccinated with inactivated vaccines. This research lays a critical foundation for the next generation hantavirus vaccine development. The article claims that this research is the first to apply structural guided prefusion conformation stabilization strategies to hantavirus vaccine development. It confirmed that prefusion stabilized GPC3 antigen, delivered via DNA or mRNA LNP platforms, can strongly activate germinal center reactions and induce high titers of long-lasting broad-spectrum antibody response.
So you heard mRNA in there a couple of times, so I'm just going to put this on 2x. You can slow it down to, actually I'm just going to link it in the description. You can watch the rest of it linked in the description. Or you can slow it down to 0.5 on your end and hear about how the Chinese tinfoil hatters are already onto them. They got a strong tinfoil hat contingency over there in China too. It's good to know, isn't it?
Center reactions and induce high titers of long-lasting, broad-spectrum neutralizing antibody responses, while providing the best heterologous booster for individuals vaccinated with inactivated vaccines. Members of the Air Force Medical University's Basic Medical College, along with the Shanxi Provincial CDC, are the co-authors of the paper. The study was funded by key national research programs and the National Natural Science Foundation. Netizens disclosed on social media that on March 10th, the Guangzhou Baiyun Airport Environmental Management Department, in collaboration with a disinfection company, conducted a special emergency drill focused on rodent-induced hantavirus infection. Not just a regular disinfection drill, but one specifically targeting hantavirus. The wave of doubts triggered by the hantavirus outbreak reflects the global public's heightened sensitivity to emerging infectious diseases. In the Chinese context, this sensitivity is often amplified, even evolving into suspicions about potential human manipulation. An ex-user named Mickey posted, on March 30th, China's Air Force Medical University proudly announced the successful development of a new hantavirus nucleic acid vaccine, claiming it provides strong, long-lasting immunity. So what happened? Just 1 month later, hantavirus broke out on a cruise in the Atlantic. It's already led to multiple deaths, with many countries reporting infections, and the WHO urgently intervening. The vaccine was just developed, and now the virus is emerging? Is it a coincidence, or is there something else going on? Was this hantavirus outbreak a natural disaster, or is there more to the story? Chinese issues expert Wu Zhuolai posed a critical question. Why is the Chinese Communist Party researching and developing hantavirus? Could it also be a biological weapon? Some netizens have even expressed their belief that there's more than a 99% chance these biological viruses have been weaponized. With the development of AI, such things could be made up more easily, simply, and cheaply, which presents a huge threat to humanity. Another netizen bluntly said, every time I hear about a virus, my instinct tells me it's related to the CCP because they're constantly researching new viruses, and even intentionally releasing them. On May 9th, a Chinese user on X stated, what's scary is not the original hantavirus. What's scary is whether this hantavirus has been modified and whether it can now spread from person to person, just like when COVID-19 was first reported as having limited human-to-human transmission. At this moment, the spread of hantavirus and the debate about the origin of COVID-19 resonate strongly. According to public reports, at the end of January 2025, the CIA declassified a new assessment, suggesting that COVID-19 is more likely to have originated from research-related sources, i.e. a laboratory leak, rather than a purely natural spillover. Intelligence agencies and scientists have been exploring the causes of this global health crisis. Since the outbreak, CCP authorities have refused to fully cooperate with international investigators, hindering efforts to trace the virus's origin. This crisis has led to the deaths of millions and caused trillions in economic losses, amplifying concerns about the risks of virus research. In January, U.S. President Donald Trump mentioned the COVID-19 pandemic during an interaction with the World Economic Forum president. Trump said, someone told me to watch closely because something very bad was happening in China. Wuhan was full of bodies, right around that building we had mentioned. I've always said the virus came from Wuhan. Those bodies were in body bags. We saw it through satellite images. Though Trump didn't specify what he meant by that building, he had publicly stated multiple times that the virus came from a laboratory leak. In April last year, the White House confirmed on its official website that the true source of the COVID-19 pandemic was a laboratory leak, though the CCP has long denied this. The CCP had previous laboratory leak incidents in its history, such as the 2004 SARS virus leak in Beijing, which reminds people that biosafety is not solely a domestic issue for any single country, but rather an area that requires global standards and transparent oversight. Against this backdrop, the current hantavirus outbreak has further heightened public sensitivity to the origins of viruses and the risks associated with laboratory research. What exactly is hantavirus and how dangerous is it? Hantavirus is a large family of viruses with various strains, some of which are similar to the coronavirus. This time, it's the Andes strain, which differs from other hantaviruses. Studies have found that in large social gatherings or crowded environments, the Andes strain of hantavirus can spread through droplets or aerosols. What's even more concerning is that the Andes strain has a high mortality rate and no specific cure. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, the initial symptoms of this virus resemble the flu, but they quickly progress to acute respiratory failure, with a fatality rate as high as 40%. This is much higher than the mortality rate of the coronavirus. Why this particular hantavirus strain is able to spread from person to person while others cannot remains an unsolved mystery. Response. CDC officials confirmed that U.S. passengers on the cruise ship will be quarantined in Nebraska upon their return to the United States. At the sterile of someone claiming to be a soothsayer, they posted on June 2022 saying, 2023, Corona ended, 2026, hantavirus. Since registering their account in June 2022, the user had posted only 4 tweets, and one of them was related to a prophecy. This account, which had almost exclusively posted this prophecy, suddenly went viral. Was it a coincidence, or did the soothsayer truly have foresight? A Threads user commented, first of all, these 2 viruses are artificially created. Of course, with a virus, there will always be vaccines and treatments. The only question is whether they will be deliberately spread. They added, this doesn't feel like superstition. It feels more like someone trying to stir up trouble, but someone else couldn't stand it and leaked the information. The user concluded, I think these coincidences are all part of a bigger plan. Someone is about to release the virus. Earlier, several soothsayers had mentioned rodent-related infectious diseases. On December 9, 2025, fortune teller Jian Xiaonan analyzed the energy diseases. On December 9, 2025, fortune teller Jian Xiaonan analyzed the energy of the Chinese calendar in a YouTube video. He emphasized that during the year of the fire horse, which is this year, people should particularly pay attention to 3 key elements: horses, transportation, and rats. He even warned of a possible rodent-borne infectious disease, reminding everyone not to take it lightly. Earlier this year, Thai fortune teller Moore Ply described 2026 as a fierce fire horse year, predicting that within the next couple of years, a new virus would sweep across the globe. This virus would be extremely deadly, with a high fatality rate, and humanity's existing preventative measures would be seriously tested. She mentioned should particularly pay attention to 3 key elements: horses, transportation, and...
Or fire. Link to the China Observer story will be in the description in the pinned comment. I did skip over a few points, but let's just look at some of that fire that's going on right now over there in the Everglades.
Hello, our friends, Evolutionary and Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So there's some fires going on in South Florida, some big ones.
In South Florida are battling a new fire in the Everglades. This is video of a remote area between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. One person had to be evacuated by boat.
By boat. Actually, these fires are pretty massive. Right now we're at 20% containment, but last night there was at 0% containment. Look at how straight a line that fire is.
Yeah, that's like really curious.
Night there was at 0% containment. Look at how straight a line that fire is.
Yeah, that's like really
Night there was at 0% containment. Look at how straight a line that fire is.
Yeah, that's like really curious. I've never seen a fire burn in such a straight line. I wonder what's going on there.
As we got a little fox running through the front yard there, a very skinny little fox, by the way. So, one of the things that automatically comes to mind when we see fires like this is, what's planned for the neighborhood? We're doing a little research. I didn't see anything planned at the moment for this neighborhood. The Everglades, by the way, if you've never been through them, it's a good thing to go take a drive through them. It's amazing. The energy there is just different. But here you go. This is over 5,000 acres burned as of May 11, sending smoke towards Pembroke Pines area while fire crews work to contain their blaze. 20% containment right now. This blaze, dubbed the Max Road fires, burned again just about 5,000 acres. And of course, the smoke's going to be hazardous. This is another thing. A lot of people have breathing issues. A lot of people are having issues with, a lot of things health-wise at this point in time. And this is not going to add to it.
And so what do you think the chances are? How much money would you put on it that I could go to the Everglades right now and find the burn signatures of electricity all throughout the Everglades, including trees burning in the inside and all of the other burn patterns that are associated with this electric fire that I call plasma fire? Knowing that that's the case and that these are happening worldwide, that is the kind of thing that they would put on a theatrical distraction for. One great big festering neon distraction. I have a suggestion. It's to keep you all occupied. Learn to swim. Some say a comet will fall from the sky, followed by meteor showers and tidal waves, followed by fault lines that cannot sit still, followed by millions of dumbfounded dipshits, and some say the end is near. Some say we'll see Armageddon soon. Certainly hope we will. I sure could use a vacation from this bullshit 3 rings circus sideshow of freaks that are in this hopeless fucking hole we call LA. The only way to fix it is to flush it all away. Any fucking time, any fucking day. Learn to swim, I'll see you down in Arizona Bay. Or instead of asteroids and fault lines and tidal waves, maybe it's just plasma fire. And some say the end is near, and that's how it will come about. Oh, that's right. That's what it said in the Bible, isn't it? That's what's happening all around us right now, isn't it? That would be a good reason for them to come up with these theatrical distractions so that while the world's burning, we don't have dumbfounded dipshits losing their mind. You keep them focused on the shiny object. Haunta, Haunta, oh my God, Haunta. Don't pay attention to the world around you burning. Look, over here, over here. The C-19 operation in 2019 was a dry run, a practice rehearsal for when they really would need to do a worldwide lockdown martial law. Not using the words lockdown, but a real one when the time comes. So prior to then, they all did an orchestrated, coordinated theatrical rehearsal. Just like you do training exercises for any other contingency or experience you expect in the near future, they did a worldwide coordinated global lockdown exercise. And Trump even said that when he had that 5-star general right next to him saying, we're in the middle of a live exercise. And Trump, standing just to his side, said, well, you should have told us. You should have told us. After the general said, we are in the middle of a live exercise. Oh, you should have told us. You should have told us. This is what the exercise is for when the time comes that there's millions of dumbfounded dipshits who finally notice the trees around them burning from the inside, electricity coming up out of the ground, melting cars in the middle of asphalt parking lots where there's no fuel around, turning houses to ash. And like he said,
that so many of us are just looking forward to seeing. And here you have a club on fire in Hanoi. There's been so many unusual fires. This very likely has nothing to do with any of the other fires that we're talking about. But when we see these things, we think again in Canada, as in Hawaii, during the forest fires, it's so curious to see houses completely destroyed and somehow trees are standing. That just seems to defy logic. Is it people's guardian angels keeping the fire away from, keeping the fire away from their trees?
Yeah.
So yeah, hey, you guys, we got a problem. People are starting to notice, but it's a very small segment. What about when the general population notices, hey, it's just the houses burning. None of the trees, none of the bushes, just the houses. And cars are melting in the middle of asphalt parking lots. What are we going to do when the general public notices what the fuck's going on around them? Well, we've already done a training exercise for when that time comes, and in order to postpone that as long as we can, we'll keep making them chase the shiny baubles. But eventually, one day, they're going to notice, how come it's just the houses burning? That's what you're seeing right there. Just the houses, no trees. Yet the people still don't notice. But one day, if and when they do, it's martial law worldwide. So here in just a second, we're going to keep talking about this idea of A, creating distractions, and B, why Clown World is on full throttle and they aren't even bothering to lie to you anymore. They don't care who catches them. There won't be any time for a reckoning. That's why what used to be the totalitarian tiptoe, where they would sneak ever so slowly towards their end goal, now they're at a dead run for the end line. They don't care who sees them operating. But first I want to mention this. Something that's in alignment with a pattern I've been noticing over the past years. 10 days ago, it was the largest fire ever in the history of the state of Georgia. 1 month ago, the largest fire ever in the state of Nebraska, and both of them were in relatively unpopulated areas, just as now we're seeing the fires in what? The Everglades, the least likely place on earth you would imagine fires to burn. They said one person had to be evacuated by boat. The swamps, the Everglades. I showed you before, I'm thinking it was in Brazil or somewhere, where they showed you we had 10 times the fire this year as we did the previous years. I've told you before, they had as much fire in Siberia, I think it was 2021 or 2022, as much fire in Siberia as the rest of the world combined in that year. Referencing the ones in Brazil that I just referenced was in the Brazilian wetlands. Again, just like the Everglades, the swamps, the bayous. 40 degrees below zero. Again, the least likely and least populated place of the world combined in that year. Siberia, where it's like 40 degrees below zero. Again, the least likely and least populated place to burn. Last year, where was it? The Grand Canyon. Almost like if this is directed energy, it is being directed to the places where it will do the least amount of damage. Yeah, in Nebraska, it sucks for the ranchers whose cattle no longer have free grazing area, but we'll survive and move on. If you have to direct it somewhere, because that ground current electricity is building up, you know when we're facing a plasma pressure release. Yes, you do know when we're facing a plasma pressure release environment and they release these red flag warnings and say, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week is going to be a high fire danger period in this area. And there is no way they could tell you that with such accuracy and specificity of the time and location. And then what happens? Sure enough, fires get out of control in that area. These red flag warnings are accurate. There is no way you could measure the temperature and humidity and the fuel consistency and how dry the brush is and tell you on these 3 days of this week in this area, be careful, no barbecues, no outside burn pits, because it's a high fire danger. It's that those few days is a plasma pressure release conditions that we've discussed before on this video. There are other things they're factoring into their red flag warnings that they are not telling the public, but those red flag warnings are very accurate, and when they know that's coming, if you had the right technology to direct that energy, it is only logical. You would direct it to the least populated areas possible, where the current electricity is building up. You know when we're facing a plasma pressure release environment, where the plasma pressure coming from the solar winds of the coronal holes facing the Earth and the solar flares and CMEs coming from the sunspots are charging the atmosphere and the Earth, which is a battery, a capacitor, and it charges up the Earth with lots of electricity, and then when the plasma pressure releases, there's no more sunspots facing the Earth, no more coronal holes, no high-speed solar wind. Then the flow of electricity goes the opposite direction from the Earth back up into the atmosphere now that there's no longer a high pressure zone of plasma above us. And in those certain times, they have to direct it somewhere. This is keeping in alignment with that pattern that I've identified, that it seems more like if this is directed energy, it's being directed away from the human populated areas. Otherwise, if it were to go naturally, where it would find its own path of least resistance, it would be attracted, as we see, towards the most electrically conductive material, metals. urban areas with the most houses and cars and infrastructure in the ground, the pipes, the sewer pipes, the electrical wires, etc. But instead, we're seeing it popping up in the least populated place, the prairies of Nebraska, the backwoods of Georgia. So now we're going to talk about two different videos suspicious observers made 4 weeks ago. One of them titled Clown World, Why Now? And then just shortly after, he almost did a remake of the same one, that was 3 weeks ago, titled A Story to Tell.
Hello, and welcome to Clown World. As always here on the channel, it's important that we ask the right questions. In this case, we don't have to really ask what Clown World is. We all get it at this point, and I know. I didn't get it all in this one collage, hodgepodge of reality dodgeball we're navigating through ever-increasing weirdness, erosion of familiarity and tradition, along with morality and sanity, across culture, politics, society, the economy, even science. But it wasn't always this way. It's not that the whispers and the seeds and the spells of the clown world that are fruiting now weren't planted and nourished and guided. It's not that those problems didn't exist. But undeniably, they weren't as bad. They were nascent, still starting their slippery slopes. Optimism, the white pill, reigned over the majority, and progress in pursuit of happiness was normal. If you weren't an Alex Jones die-hard fan, you maybe caught a whiff, but had no real good chance of seeing the big picture. But amid the poisoning of our air, water, and food, the secret actors now prominently directing the world as puppeteers, the rise of immorality and degeneracy and evil as God is attacked, masculinity under attack, feminism weaponized, distraction, obfuscation, cover-ups, evil. Now that white pill has turned black. Depression is the norm. Testosterone is endangered. Freedom is dissolving as fast as our currency and our freedom of speech and our capacity to love one another. That is Clown World. What's amazing is how many of those vectors feel directly behind the shield of Trump right now, the man so many believed would deliver us. Either this is 8D chess or we are in big trouble and we got played. Looking at that posting from Trump yesterday, original on the right, his version on the left, as if it wasn't bad enough to portray himself as Jesus, and no, I don't buy his explanation at all. While we know of the scar on the right side of his face, by the way, but look at what they did to the angelic soldiers on the right. The original, angel wings are now gone on the left, and that creature in the middle, that's actually the bad guy in a book about the dude at the bottom of this image fighting Baal worshippers. So the bad guy taking the place of that angel in the new photo is not so good. And that's not the only thing. The fish on his belt in the original, which is clearly symbolic, is now head missing, kind of like the soldier above. No, I don't like this at all. But I am not so interested in whether Trump is evil or a hero. I am more interested in the only thing that all the people who do see that something is very wrong seem to be missing here. If you don't like some of these people, that's okay. A lot of them are doing good, have done good, are trying to illuminate or directly fight the fight, and it is a pitifully incomplete list, like my collage earlier, but I want it to be clear what I'm going for here. It's not just Alex Jones piecing together a web of conspiracy. It's a lot of voices. It's not secret. It's getting absolutely bananas. It is in our face. It's obvious. That's why we call it Clown World. So many can see what is happening but are still not asking the right question. Another great example, the Tate brothers. Think what you want about their personal lives or their money-focused idea of dealing with the Matrix. Their points about the Matrix itself have illuminated millions. They see how clearly it works and communicated it along with many others and have really helped with the whole fighting back against toxic masculinity. But even they and those like them haven't asked the most important question. I have never seen someone so correctly predict geopolitics like Nick Fuentes over the last several years. Like him or not, everyone who feels betrayed by Trump, he told us so. America First is the closest concept to a path forward politically, but as a strictly cultural movement, it has no basis to even ask the most important question. Even Nick doesn't see this part. There are literally millions of you in America, and millions more around the world, all seeing Clown World for what it is. We see how things have accelerated, and how quickly the world became not only unrecognizable, but hostile to us, and to all that seems good and true. Alas, the most critical question remains elusive. Why now? What happened since the year 2000 to make this process now accelerated, and with clearly different side goals about how their main goals transpire? The reason you needed Alex Jones back then is they were cautious, they were slow, they were careful, they were secretive. As long as we were happy enough and distracted enough and unaware of the plot and where things were heading, they didn't care how slowly it went. That is clearly not the case anymore. Now the game is everything, everywhere, all at once, as fast as possible. But what if they are acting recklessly because they know there isn't time for a reckoning? What if they are chasing their goals at full blast, burning freedom and our currency and fuel and our tax dollars like it's no tomorrow, because they don't think there is one? You know, everything in this collage, and everything I couldn't fit but deserves to be here, at the largest scales down to the troubles within families, is all described in a book. It's described in several, actually, not just the one describing my faith, and not just in religious stories, but in myth and legend. And there's something else that is mentioned along with those other things, all unfolding at the same time. Essentially, the sun and the earth attack. While the slow crawl of wind and water and geology have their say over thousands of years, there is a tremendous upheaval punctuating it as well. Now science says the same thing, and worse, the next unfolding is happening now, and would you believe it? It took a rapid acceleration from slow crawl to oh no, just like the clown world.
And that's quite a coincidence, isn't it? Clown World really accelerates. The game changes from we don't care if we're moving at slower than a snail's pace in slow motion, stuck in drying molasses, as long as they don't know what's going on. But now, that is the least of their concerns, obviously. My faith and many others describe exactly this in our world and in our people, our civilization. And it also describes what happens with the earth and the sun in the cyclical disaster. My life's work of science has not only proven to me that God is real, but it proves that this is a scientifically provable, repeating cyclical event that triggers a major disaster here on the planet. When a major acceleration of this event, which is presenting primarily at Earth as a geophysical change, a geomagnetic secular variation super acceleration, a magnetic pole shift to be precise. The magnetic poles are shifting and Earth's magnetic field is weakening. This is the thing that protects our atmosphere from all the scary stuff in space like solar flares, solar wind, cosmic rays, supernova blasts. The reason Mars looks like Mars and not the Earth is because it does not have a magnetic field. Since the acceleration of this event, which many of you may recall, there was several famous papers, but the most well-known, the article in Live Science, Earth's magnetic field is now weakening 10 times faster, where the head of the European Space Agency's magnetic field mission was actually interviewed, and he said that we had been losing 5% of Earth's magnetic field per century, which is about 10 times more than normal. It had already started rolling, but now we were losing 5% of the field every decade. In the year 2000, NASA told us, hey, we've lost 10% of our magnetic field. The European Space Agency updated that to 15% in a swarm document in about 2010, 2011, and since then, we have got no more numbers from them. We have been able to extrapolate that at this point we are down about 25 to 30% of the magnetic field, meaning we only have about 70 to 75% of the normal strength, and its decrease is accelerating as the magnetic pole shift is also accelerating. This drives a significant change in the atmospheric radiation environment of this planet, and it also has an impact on climate. Now, since that time, Clown World emerged in a matter of years. accelerating from that secrecy is the name of the game to, well, Clown World, in the same manner and in the same time frame, indicative of somebody getting spooked. And I would say that there is all the evidence in the world that while governments, and I don't know much about secret societies, but certainly there's evidence that certain elites have understood for many decades that this was real and this was a thing that happens. They've been caught off guard. That's why they don't care if we know. It's why they're acting recklessly. They're afraid there's no time for a reckoning. They're behind. What did Catherine Austin Fitts say? Basically prove this money is disappearing into nowhere. That's what she proved first. And then it's going into these deep underground bases and these huge tunnels. For what? You know about Elon and Bezos, space programs, and their tunneling underground. Governments doing the same all around the world. Other elites, millionaires, billionaires. Every thread from the science to the faith to the observable reality of our world, how the sun is changing, what the elites and governments of this planet are doing, and how we are even treating one another. All of this is happening word for word as is written. So why Clown World now? The question that Andrew Tate's not asking, Nick Fuentes isn't asking, Tucker Carlson isn't asking. I've seen a lot of you observers here at this channel asking, though, and knowing the answer. It's because there's another part to the story, one that most of the rest of the world hasn't caught on to yet. But that's why we are where we are, to this extent right now, as opposed to 25 years ago or 25 years from now. That's why we are in Clown World. Now, we have, in recent videos, broken down exactly all the evidence, including the papers, the science, the data, exactly what has happened in the past, why it happens, how the effects come, what triggers them, what's happening now, how far we are, the signs to look for, and then what that finish line is going to be, the complete story. And we've been discussing what to do about it, everything from basic prepping to specialized prepping for surviving this event, which humans manage to survive every time. It is bad. I don't recommend you put your head in the sand and leave it all to chance. Even Noah didn't leave it all to prayer. But this is doable. There's still a white pill here. All the way to how to convince the people that you love, when it's actually going to be the earth and the sun doing the convincing and you just drop your breadcrumbs. This is not something new, not something we are stumbling on. In 2019, we examined the full story, soup to nuts, with all of the data and all of the papers going back through time. And then in 2020, we decided, hey, you know what? Let's go back and check our work playing devil's advocate. And then we did it all again. And it turns out all we did was strengthen the story. By the time we were creating the next one in 2021, which we called the 12,000 year cycle, science was starting to publish a lot more papers. It was as though they were awakening and furthering, stoking the fire. Most recently, the disaster cycle is what led to what you saw in the previous little image there, the full disaster cycle evidence. Where we are now is a place that humans have been before. And if you can see Clown World, I would suggest that if you're new here and you haven't seen the evidence and the data that the Earth and the Sun are doing exactly the same thing, exactly as is written, give me a moment. Because there's much more at stake than you might realize. This is a privilege, a challenge, one we should gladly accept.
Economically, physically, geographically, in a smart way. I'm not saying you go all survivalist prepper and go insane, But there's going to be a lot of people that are fully in the system, that want to be in the system, that are getting the goodies and the benefits, and then the people giving them that are going to dictate. That's the way it always works. You want the goodies, the benefits, we're going to now dictate how you live and where you live based on the things that we give you. And if you continue to want those things, we're going to require that you participate in the system that we have set up. I do believe there's going to be people kind of living outside of that and happily, but are just going to figure out their own way to do it. And I mean, I'm talking about years down the road, maybe not as far as we think. But there does seem to be, and if you're ignoring this, you're crazy, there does seem to be a concerted effort amongst, which is what I think the Trump presidency is starting to look like. It's kind of endgame time. And I think a lot of these people realize it. They're sucking the last bit of money out of this government before we default on the debt. They're sucking the last bit of money out of this government before the dollar is worthless. They're sucking the last bit of money out of this government before the financial system is in some stage of permanent decline. And they're doing it in the Sam Altman types and the Elons and the Zuckerbergs and the Tim Cooks and many others and Larry Finks. They know that there's probably a tipping point at which the dollar's going down, the system's going to be radically reformed, the democratic process may not survive. We might go into some type of fascistic military junta, not to be a downer, but before all of that happens, they're sucking the last bit of money they can out of this bloated, dying corpse of an empire. And they are strengthening their position for an inevitable period of chaos. This is my guess. And it's well informed. And if you say this to people, I live out in the Hamptons, I'll say things like this to people and they go, oh, well, it's a bit dramatic. They don't say no. Meaning like 90% of rich people have no idea what's going on. They were just born, they're rich, things are good, life's good. You go to the beach, you go on a boat, you jump off the boat, you get married, you drink wine, you die, it doesn't matter. But 10% of them, and those are the ones I don't really have access to because they don't enjoy me, but those are the people that are really behind the scenes getting ready for something. You can feel it. It's in the air. The media doesn't matter anymore. They know that. They've lost control of the narrative. They are never getting it back. So the only thing left for them to do at this point is the raw power grab. The raw power grab. The niceties are gone. The pleasantries are gone. Israel's not disguising what they want to do. The motives are not. They don't matter. The narrative doesn't make sense. The stories don't add up. They do not care. They're not trying to make it make sense. They don't have the time. It's the last bit of control that they can exert over the system before it blows up. It's my guess. It's what it feels like. Nobody's putting the time in to lie to you anymore. You should worry about that. You should worry about the fact that nobody's even trying to make the lies good. They know it doesn't matter if you believe them. They're going to try to dispose of you. I'll be in Riyadh. I'll be in Riyadh where my bread is buttered. Go find where your bread is buttered. Go get your bread buttered. Go get your toast buttered. Go get your jelly. Go jelly your jam. Because the world is ending. But it's true, and it sounds rough. It sounds rough. The myth-making factory of Hollywood has been closed down.
I'll leave the link in the description to this Tim Dillon show from 8 months ago. That was just 5 minutes from it. You can watch the full thing. Hopefully I broke it up and sped it up enough that I don't get the strike for it. But as Ben Davidson said, they got spooked. That's why they're reckless now. They don't care about doing things at a snail's pace, the totalitarian tiptoe towards their agenda in order to not be noticed. There will be no time for a reckoning. And I would suggest they got spooked not because of charts and graphs and statistics about the weakening magnetic field that went from 5% per century to 5% per decade. And if you continue that, that means pretty soon they'll revise it to 5% weakening of the magnetic field per year. Those kind of statistics and charts and graphs do not compare to people realizing the ground beneath your feet is electrified, the trees are burning on the inside, cars are melting, and houses are turning to ash. I believe that's why they're spooked. That's why they're reckless. That's why they would put on these theatrical shows, this one great big festering neon distraction. I have a suggestion. It's to keep you all occupied. Plasma fire. That's what spooks them. Not charts and graphs and statistics. And when the masses finally figure out these cars that are melting in the middle of an asphalt parking lot where they don't have any flammable material anywhere around them, so the average dumbass just goes, must have been an ember blew in the wind. Once they figure out that's not a repeating pattern that happens over and over and over and over and over because an ember blowing in the wind, and that it's geomagnetic induction, that's when it's go time. That's what all these prepper billionaires are doing, getting their bunkers and trying to get off world. They know the plasma fire's happening. The dumbasses around us do not. But when the time comes that it goes viral and people start noticing, it's just the houses and cars that are burning, not the trees, the bushes, or the grass. That's when we're in a whole new world, And worldwide martial law might be a necessity, and that's why they did a dry run. And until that point, they're going to keep putting forth any distraction they can. A lot of these truthers say that it's a distraction. It's a distraction from what? Oh, I don't know. From whatever they're keeping from us. I can tell you what it's a distraction from. Plasma fire. And since we just watched the video titled Clown World, why now? With Ben Davison of Suspicious Observers, I'll include the link that he did a few days later with the same thumbnail titled A Story to Tell. It's pretty much a continuation of the same narrative. That's why he used the same thumbnail. It's the sequel to Clown World, Why Now? Links in the description for everything I've covered here. If we were talking about a potential earthquake, a cataclysmic earthquake, it wouldn't spook them to hear about tectonic plates and subduction zones and fault lines, but once the ground starts shaking beneath your feet, oh, now I get it! Likewise with plasma fire. They can see the ground is burning beneath our feet. For the 2 or 3 people here at this channel that might be watching this video who aren't 100% familiar with what plasma fire is, geomagnetic induction, electricity-driven fires, why it burns the houses and not the trees and the grass, links are in the description starting with Plasma Fire 101 to get you up to speed. This image was one that Ben Davidson used in his presentation. It shows the Earth, the sun, auroras, there's the Holy Bible, but my point is there's nothing here but the Earth and the sun, and this fiery tornado with electricity component, which tells me Ben knows. He didn't get creative and think, oh, well, that would be cool to make like a tornado with fire inside and lightning bolts. That is the iconic representation of plasma fire that I've talked about before. The vortex winds, ionic winds, fire nados, fire whirls that pop up in all of these fires. That used to be an anomaly. Now it's a regular occurrence. Along with the electricity component, which creates both the wind and the fire. Like this fire NATO that we had in Utah just a little while back, winds from 111 to 135 miles an hour at F2 that picked up these storage unit containers and threw them a few hundred feet. I'm going to also throw in here, everything we've covered in this video so far would explain why they're coming out with aliens and UFOs and ticks with alpha-gal syndrome, the Lone Star tick, and whatever they come out with next week. The reason Clown World is on full throttle that we've discussed also explains why they would keep these distractions. Now I'm going to remind you that fake wars that are just as coordinated, orchestrated, and theatrical as those fake pandemics they put us through a couple years ago. See, during the Russia-Ukraine war, they were putting out the Ukrainian armed forces had their commander-in-chief putting out clips of the video game Arma 3, claiming this is wartime footage that we just took down some of these Russian helicopters. And on the mainstream news in Israel, the CNN of Israel, they're showing you video of stormtroopers leaned up against their X-Wing fighter that just crashed on the nightly news saying that this is wartime footage. And they're also showing you people with wooden cutouts of guns, saying that this is wartime footage. You have to see it to believe it. For those of you that have already seen it and know what I'm talking about, it's a good reminder to get you grounded once again in the reality of why. And the fact that they do coordinate and orchestrate these theatrical things, it's not all fake. It's not like virtual reality. It's like augmented reality. A hybrid of real people dying in something like a conflict.
And this is from the most recent three-ring circus. And if you look closely, you can see that they are made out of plywood in a very specific shape, but they are simply holding wooden dowels. And then you have this guy over here with the colors that you normally associate with this kind of activity, possibly for hypnotic effect. Look closely, they're wooden.
They're not even made out of metal. Pieces of wood. Plywood. You can especially see it right here. The depth of the plywood is like a 1/4 inch thick the whole way along. A real pop stick doesn't look like that. Same thing with the top ridge where it's reflecting light. You can see the width of it is equal the whole distance along where it reflects light up here. It's not shadow or lighting. Maybe you just can't see any definition to it because of the lighting or the shadow. No, that's a freaking piece of wood. And you can see even on the corners where the paint's rubbing off. Again, equal distance on the width of it on this edge right here where the light hits it in such a way that you can see the depth of it, 1/4 inch even the whole way. Likewise back here. That is a 1/4 inch wide piece of plywood. Likewise with this guy, and he's had a lot more of his paint rub off. You see? They are jerking you around. And they are doing a very good job. And you imbecilic Americans fall for it every time. Boris and Natasha is all it took to fool you. You silly American. So, back to the original image.
This is on Fox News. Notice that? On the bottom left, there's their logo. Fox News.
They're resorting to throwing in stormtroopers. Maybe they'll notice that. Here comes the stormtroopers. Bring on the stormtroopers. I'm going to block it till they bring on the stormtroopers. There we go. Here's some stormtroopers. Don't want to show you any other graphic video game images or anything, so that's why I blocked it until they showed just the stormtroopers. Now we're going to zoom in on some stormtroopers. Oh! How did I rewind it too far again? Hold that thought.
This video footage was shown on the CNN of Israel, their mainstream news outlet. As you can see, that's like a downed TIE fighter or an X-Wing from Star Wars, and leaned up against it is a couple of stormtroopers. There's one that's still in flames that went down. And there's 2 stormtroopers leaned up against this one coming up. Now, I don't remember hearing anyone say, that's AI, that's AI. So this must have come out before AI was released to the public, or that's exactly what everyone would have said. But no one said that because it was yet to be another year or 2 before the public would have access to that video generating artificial intelligence that we now instinctively and automatically refer to when we see shit like this that's obviously fake. That's the Small Hat News Network logo in the bottom left that I just pointed to. So, whether it's aliens or ticks or a war with Iran, and what you're about to watch here was put out by the Commander-in-Chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, and he did it not once, but twice, back to back, even after he got caught for putting out clips of a video game called Arma 3 and claiming this was wartime footage. Everyone called him out on it instantly because you can run a Google image search. He did it again a short time later. They're showing you that much of this is theatrical, and when you understand the nature of plasma fire, that these wars are just as coordinated as these so-called pandemics. In order to keep the general public, I'll discuss the nature of why they keep us exhausted and desensitized. But when you understand the nature of plasma fire, it makes it understandable why they would fake a war or a pandemic and work in lockstep, just like they did during the C-19. Every country around the world was working in lockstep. So it is during these apparent wars that they are working in lockstep as part of their process leading up to the final conclusion where this plasma fire is leading to. Let's just look at what the Ukrainian Armed Forces Commander-in-Chief put out 4 years ago.
That's a helicopter being exploded. Of course it's a helicopter being exploded, you stupid fucking idiot. Look, it's got pictures and everything. We've even got video of it. Hold on a second, let me see if we got video of it. The guy probably took it down by now. Oh shit, no, it's still up. It's still up. Ah, sexy times. Oh shit. Oh, listen. I'm all for the war prawns, boys. Let's get it done. Whoa, shit. Pull up. Whoa, shit, it's getting real. Got him. Oh. Oh shit, take a little bit of damage. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I stand with Ukraine. I stand with Ukraine so hard. Get him. Oh, fuck that. Take that, you Russian Nazi. Bam. Woo, sexy time. Get him again. Get him again. Here's another son of a bitch. This fucking racist Nazi, Hitler, Russians. Boom. Got him. Ooh. Looking good. All right. 2 down. Skillful. Oh, shit. It's going to get... Oh, uh-oh. Oh, that one got away. Oh, there's birds in the background, so you know it's real. Oh, no. He's like... Oh! In from behind. You know what I'm talking about, Don Lemon. Boom! He got a little bit of that Jeffrey Toobin. Take that, you fucking sons of bitches. Stop Russia. Hashtag war. Hashtag I stand with Russia. And you know it's real because it came from the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian armed forces. Holy shit, that's insane. Wow. Okay, maybe those dudes did take down 7 tanks. Oh, hold on a second. What now? This is from Arma 3? Holy shit. They keep doing this. This is the second time that I know that they've done this. Holy shit. First of all, damn, Abe.
They dropping clown bombs to create a mushroom clown in your mind through the media to keep you from noticing what's happening in the real world around you if you look out your windows in the form of plasma fire.
And remember how I covered recently that the video game Arma 3, in a video that I titled Clowns in Action Spooked 6 Countries in 10 Months with One Video Game. And here you see the USA Today, the fact check viral clip shows Arma 3 video game, not war between Russia and Ukraine. And they declare this as false. They fact check it as false. And they say, yeah, we declared it false. That just shows video games, not the actual war. What do you mean? That was the claim. The claim is a video shows war between Russia and Ukraine. No, the claim that you would be fact-checking is the conspiracy theory that it shows a video game and not the war, or that it shows the war. And in the big headline, they say that they're fact-checking the conspiracy theory that it shows a video game and not the war. In small print, what they're fact-checking is the claim. Here's the small print. Here's the terms and conditions you did not read, Normie. So Normie goes, no, I saw USA Today debunk that. They fact check it. It's false. No, dude, this is really just a fucking video game, not really war between. No, USA Today debunked it, and they declared it false. And in the doublespeak, take you to the bottom. So most people, it's been proven through, advertising agencies and whatnot, they only remember the first thing and the last thing that they saw and heard in a commercial or whatever. So as we scroll clear down to the bottom, our rating, false. See, they debunked it. It's been false. Based on our research, we rate false the claim that the video shows war between Russia and Ukraine. And in fact, the video shows footage from Arma 3, a military-style video game. Russia had not been invaded Ukraine yet. And if you go just a couple lines above that, they tell you that it's been used in September 2001. Indian fact-checking organization Boom debunked footage that claimed to show a Pakistani Air Force attack 4 months earlier. The agency France Presse debunked a video that claimed to show the conflict between Israel and Hamas. In both cases, the clips originated from Arma 3. Right here,
they're telling you. So as you can see, Clowns in Action, CIA, are at it again. This is from a video I made 4 years ago. May the farce be with you, because it's a farce. And so it is with much of what we see today. It's one great big festering neon distraction, brilliantly designed to keep you all occupied from noticing the world around you burning from the inside out and the ground beneath your feet burning with electricity. The aliens, the UFOs, the tick-borne illness, alpha-gal, the war with Iran, soaring gas prices, oil shortages, economic collapse, the electrical grid going down, And they keep us distracted in this way and becoming ultimately burnout, desensitized to the point where we go numb and we don't notice anything. I saw a similar thing happen before we invaded Iraq in 2003. 2001 happened, and then we went into Afghanistan. And then before they went into Iraq, they head faked. They telegraphed their punch for about a year and a half, made their intentions clearly known, so that there were these protests worldwide for like a year and a half. No blood for oil, no blood for oil, don't invade Iran. Everyone was chanting and marching and picketing with their signs in the streets worldwide for nearly 2 years before we finally went into Iraq. And once we finally went into Iraq, everyone was all out of gas. They were exhausted. They were spent. They had opened up that pressure release valve by telegraphing their punches that they were about to make and making their intentions clear with all those head fakes to get those people out in the street ranting and chanting, so that by the time we actually went into Iraq, people just said, well, we've been protesting for a couple years straight. Doesn't seem to make any difference. Let's just go home. And that's what happened. They had opened up that pressure release valve long enough. There wasn't much of a response when it finally happened. So it will be. They keep opening up these pressure release valves, whichever one you like best, whether it's aliens or ticks or Haunta virus or war. And ultimately, everyone's got their own flavor, but everyone's got something they're responding to. And ultimately, they go numb. They become desensitized. They get spent. They get exhausted. So by the time it really goes down, they just lay there and watch it happen as it goes down. And I'll talk in another video about why there can and most likely will be both fake aliens or off-world life, breakaway civilization, the fake version and the real version simultaneously. Like he said, Clown World, why now? Alien invasion, why now? And it's for the same answer. Try to contemplate that before I make the video. Why would there simultaneously be a real alien invasion? I don't like the word invasion, but arrival of outsiders, if you will, beyonders, those that are from beyond here, simultaneously with a fake one. And I'll give you a clue. Anytime they see something happening, a mass movement, they create a faux, fake, counterfeit, artificial version of it to co-opt that movement in order to get that plane off the runway and into the ditch before it gets airborne. Whether it's anti-capitalist movement, so they make the Zuccotti Park, Occupy Wall Street, because they saw a growing sentiment of anti-capitalist rhetoric, just like they put out Patriot Front, a fake phony cutout, a industry plant to represent those Trump lovers. And then they put those feds, they're glow sticks, right? Called Patriot Front. And they march them around representing, these are Trump fans. And they're all holding up Nazi swastikas and doing Heil Hitlers and Sig Heils and shit to represent and hijack and co-opt that MAGA fan base and lead it off the runway into the ditch before it gets airborne. They create a faux, fake, counterfeit, alternative version of a movement in order to control it. Controlled opposition, get their guys in the leadership position of that narrative in order that they can drive the narrative. They create that fake, artificial, counterfeit version of it. Anytime they see a movement, a mass movement of the hearts and minds of the people, whether it's feminism, anti-capitalism, MAGA, so they put out their fake version of MAGA called Patriot Front, and everyone can see that those guys are all feds, posers, posing as MAGA Trump supporters. Likewise, they will put out a fake, counterfeit, artificial version of the aliens, the off-world planet, the breakaway civilization. Right? Why now? Because plasma fire. That's why now. That's why the real deal would arrive here now, because this is the time of the harvest. You wait any longer and all those good fruits are going to get tilled into the soil. Because if this offer is shunned, you might as well be walking on the sun, so don't delay, act now. Supplies are running out. Allow, if you're still alive, 6 to 8 years to arrive, and if you follow, there may be a tomorrow, but if the offer is shunned, then you might as well be walking on the sun. And I'll talk a little bit more in a future video about why this Jewish reptilian alliance may be co-opted. If you're anti-reptilian, then it's just because you're an anti-Semite, because the reptilians and the Jews, they're tight. They're like bosom buddies. It's the Sacred Serpent Brotherhood. This is a video I made a couple years ago showing you about the Jewish Reptilian Alliance. And J.P. Sears put out a video just yesterday talking about how he sees that's where this is going. That the solution to the alien problem will be the same as the solution to the Zionism problem. They pair up and go hand in hand. But I think we've done this video. It's an hour now. I'm going to go into more detail about those subjects in a different video. Just some food for thought. Maybe chew that up. Some giblets for your brain gravy that you can simmer until next time when it's time for ladling. Ladle no brain gravy before it's time.